So it looks like Princess Anne has shaken things up a bit with Queen Camilla, and people are definitely talking about it. There have been some rumors flying around about tension between these two royal ladies, and it's got everyone curious about what's really going on behind those fancy palace doors. But that's not all. There's also some big changes happening with their finances that could really mix things up for the whole family. So, grab a snack because we're diving into this royal drama that might just change the game for the crown. Princess Anne's honest take on Queen Elizabeth. Princess Anne has always been known for being direct and no-nonsense. Recently, when she opened up about her mother, the late Queen Elizabeth, it felt like we were getting a real look into the life of one of the most respected figures out there. Being Queen Elizabeth's only daughter gives Anne a unique view that nobody else has. Her thoughts on her mom's personal struggles are pretty touching. It doesn't just show us a glimpse of a queen, but also of a mom who had to juggle the expectations of a nation while facing her own challenges. One thing that really stood out was Anne's take on how her mother felt about the divorces in the royal family. We always saw Queen Elizabeth as the rock-solid queen, right? But underneath that calm facade was a woman who dealt with her share of pain and heartache. Anne mentioned how tough the divorce talks were for her mom and that it was clearly distressing for her. Now tensions are rising in the royal family. Princess Anne has made it clear where she stands with Queen Camilla, and it's surprising. What made her take such a strong stance, and how is Camilla dealing with this royal clash? Keep watching because this behind-the-scenes drama is heating up. Can you believe Queen Elizabeth II had to witness 3 of her 4 kids' marriages fall apart? That must have been so difficult for her. Anne even recalled a moment when the Queen, showing rare frustration and sadness, said, 3 out of 4. We rarely got to see this side of the Queen, as a tired and disappointed mother who had to hide her feelings because of her role. Despite all the struggles she faced, the Queen managed to keep it together. Her former press secretary, Charles Anson, mentioned that she was never short-tempered or cranky. Even when everything around her seemed chaotic, she stayed calm and composed. Isn't that something? How did she keep her cool while the media and public were digging into her personal life? It really shows her strength and her deep sense of duty, which she embraced the moment she became queen. She knew she was more than just a mother or wife. She was a symbol of stability for the whole country, and that always came first. But there's more to her story. Anne also talked about her mom's efforts to modernize the monarchy, which I found super interesting. It's easy to forget that Queen Elizabeth's reign coincided with a time of huge change, and she had to figure out how to keep the monarchy relevant while holding on to its traditions. Anne said her mom had this instinct about how the monarchy needed to evolve. That's not an easy thing to juggle. One of the major moves the Queen made was deciding to broadcast the royal Christmas message on TV back in 1957. It might not seem like a big deal today, but back then, it was groundbreaking. Suddenly, people could see the Queen in their own homes talking directly to them. It made the monarchy feel more approachable and personal. And she didn't stop there. She even approved the television coverage of the state opening of Parliament, which was a bold step at the time. By doing this, she aimed to show the public that the royal family wasn't some distant, unapproachable entity. Instead, they played an active role in the country's democracy. Anne mentioned how her mother knew that being queen wasn't just about the fancy events. The Queen had real responsibilities, and sometimes that meant making tough choices. She traveled all the time as the head of the Commonwealth, which often kept her away from her family. It wasn't that she wanted to be away, she just understood it came with the job. Isn't that what duty really means? Doing what you have to do, even when it's tough or inconvenient? Princess Anne shared stories that highlighted the strong sense of responsibility and dedication Queen Elizabeth felt throughout her life. She wasn't just a face in the crowd, she was a working monarch who took her role seriously, even when it cost her personally. The Queen managed to keep a balance between sticking to traditions and embracing change, family obligations, and her duty to the public. She carried a lot more weight than most of us ever knew. And speaking of royal dynamics, there's some tension in the air. Princess Anne has made her feelings clear to Queen Camilla, and it's not looking good. So, what led to this royal showdown? And how is it affecting life in the palace? You won't believe the details we've got for you. Stick around for the full scoop. Now let's talk about the Balmoral Summit. This meeting has really changed things for the British monarchy, and the pressure is on. It brought together the most influential royals to discuss the future of this centuries-old institution. King Charles kicked off the whole thing, joined by Queen Camilla, Prince William, Princess Catherine, Princess Anne, and some other senior royals. All the big names were there to tackle serious issues facing the family right now. And trust me, these issues are no joke. Prince William, who has really stepped up, was at the heart of this summit. His ideas were bold, and you can tell he's looking to the future and wants to make a real impact. He's not just going through the motions, he's aiming for genuine change. Homelessness, mental health, and keeping the environment safe. Those are the big topics he cares about, and he really wants the royal family to get more involved in fixing these issues. Now, here's where it gets juicy. One of his more controversial ideas was to cut back on royal spending. How's he planning to do that? By stopping the royal paychecks for some family members, including Queen Camilla's son, daughter, and sister. That's pretty bold, right? But William didn't stop there. He also threw out the idea of mixing things up a bit, suggesting that younger members of the family, like Duchess Sophie and Princess Catherine, take on some of the tasks that Queen Camilla usually handles. It makes sense when you think about it. He's really into what he calls social leadership, which means making real changes in the community instead of just showing up for photo ops and ribbon cuttings. But not everyone is on board with these ideas. Enter Queen Camilla, who is reportedly furious about all of this. And when I say furious, I mean she really let her feelings out, especially when it came to Princess Catherine. Things got so heated that both Princess Catherine and Princess Anne were left simply shocked. Can you picture what that must have been like? Camilla's upset wasn't just about the pay cuts or who does what. Sources say she's been telling King Charles to avoid meeting with Prince Harry, even though they happen to be in the same country for the first time in a while. Why? She worries that such a meeting could stress out the king, especially since he's reportedly going through cancer treatment right now. So, on top of all the tension over the summit, there's more family drama, with Camilla weighing in on the king's decisions. This whole situation has shown some serious rifts inside the royal family, especially between Camilla and the younger royals like William and Catherine. Let's be real, changing old traditions isn't easy. But still, it makes you wonder, what does this mean for the future of the monarchy? Can William stick to his plan of creating a modern, engaged royal family? Or will Camilla's pushback make things harder? Those questions are hanging in the air. Things might still be a bit unclear, but one thing is definite. The Balmoral summit has changed things. So, what does this mean for the king? He's in a tough spot trying to support his wife, Camilla, while also backing his son's ideas for a fresh take on the monarchy. Charles's reign has had its ups and downs, and now he's got to find a way to juggle these different interests. On top of that, the monarchy is dealing with pressure from the public and the ongoing fallout from Harry and Meghan stepping back. Can King Charles manage everything, especially with his health in mind? The summit seems like just the start of a challenging journey for the royal family. The differences in opinions and generational gaps are getting clearer, and it makes you wonder how much longer the traditional ways will stick around. Change is coming, but how much can the monarchy handle before it starts losing what it stands for? Camilla, William, and Catherine are all involved in this evolving situation, and honestly, it's a tricky situation to navigate. Every choice made at the summit could have lasting effects on the monarchy for years. Will they embrace change, or will they hold on to the old ways? Only time will tell. Now, let's talk about the money side of things. You can feel the change in the air around Buckingham Palace and everywhere else the royals live. King Charles is determined to streamline the monarchy, and he's not just making small cuts. He's really digging into the royal family's finances. And can you blame him? With so many people dealing with rising costs, the royal expenses are under a magnifying glass. It makes sense that Charles wants to run a tighter ship. But it's not just about saving a few bucks. He wants to create a more updated and efficient monarchy that fits the times. It's clear that he's rethinking how the royal household works, especially given the economic struggles everyone is facing. The monarchy knows it needs to keep an eye on spending and appear ready to change. King Charles has a big idea. He wants to cut the royal staff by 20%. That's a lot, right? But when you think about it, it makes sense. He and Queen Camilla have been chatting about how there are too many people doing similar jobs at their different residences. Why should each place have its own entire kitchen crew when one team could handle food for everyone? You have to wonder why they're only bringing this up now. It feels like the royal family has been stuck in a routine, doing things the same way just because it's always been done that way. And it's not just happening at Buckingham Palace. These changes will also impact Windsor Castle, Balmoral, and Sandringham. What many people are picking up on is that the aim here is to pay those who stick around fairly while cutting down the overall number of staff. It seems like a sharp move for better efficiency. But can the royal family still keep its royal vibe with fewer folks doing all the behind-the-scenes work? Here's the juicy part. This financial shakeup isn't only about saving money. It's also about tackling the concerns that have been building for years. More and more people are speaking out about how much the monarchy costs the taxpayers. Recent reports suggest that the royals are costing the country over £500 million a year. That's shocking, right? And keep in mind, this doesn't just include the sovereign grant, which is set to rise by £45 million annually. The tension really rises when you consider the lost income from the duchies of Cornwall and Lancaster. Some folks believe these duchies should be seen as state property, not just personal assets for the Windsor family. This debate is sure to get louder in the years ahead. With all this heat on him, King Charles is looking to modernize and prepare the monarchy for the future. What do you think will happen next? Prince William is really getting involved in the royal family's direction, and it seems like they're looking at other European royal families for some good ideas. They're trying to figure out how to keep the monarchy relevant while also being mindful of the public's purse. The goal is to create a smaller, more affordable royal family that people are happier with. It makes sense when you think about it. Public opinion plays a huge role. If people start seeing the monarchy as a burden, it could lead to big problems. But not everyone in the family agrees with these changes. Take Princess Anne, for example. She's expressed her worries about whether a smaller royal family can really handle all its duties. And honestly, you can see where she's coming from. The royals have a lot on their plate, both ceremonial and practical, so having fewer people might mean some important tasks get overlooked. What happens if this new, leaner version of the royal family can't keep up with everything they're expected to do? That's a tricky question with no straightforward answer. As this all unfolds, it feels like the royal family is balancing on a tightrope. They have tradition pulling one way and modern expectations pulling the other. Finding a way to juggle both won't be an easy feat, and whatever happens will likely impact the British monarchy for years, maybe even generations. And guess what? Princess Anne isn't holding back anymore. She's made her feelings known to Camilla, and now the royal family is buzzing with gossip. What led to this surprising exchange, and what could it mean for them moving forward? Stick with us as we dive into this royal drama, because the twists and turns are more surprising than you might think. So, how does the monarchy stay relevant while holding on to its long-standing traditions? It's a bit of a juggling act. They need to respect their rich history while adapting to what today's society expects. And let's face it, who hasn't wondered how the royal family remains a symbol of tradition while still reaching out to a younger, more diverse crowd? One of the ways they've updated their public image is by acknowledging, connecting with younger generations is pretty important, don't you think? The monarchy has changed a lot over the years. It's not just about standing on a balcony or cutting ribbons anymore. Nowadays, it's about being part of the big issues we face in society. Prince William and Princess Catherine are really stepping up to this challenge. They're not just attending charity events, they're working on projects that make a real difference in people's lives. King Charles III is at the center of this change. Even though he respects tradition, he knows that for the monarchy to stay relevant, it has to get involved in today's political and social issues. He's focused on things like the environment and homelessness, which is a big shift from when the royals kept their distance from such topics. He's showing his commitment by getting hands-on to tackle these problems. But it's not only about Charles. The younger royals are really taking charge. William and Catherine are stepping into roles once held by older royals who are now taking a back seat. By doing this, they're sending a clear message that the future of the monarchy is about youth and issues that matter to younger people. They're championing causes like mental health, climate change, and early childhood education, proving the monarchy can be a force for good while also representing change. And doesn't that give you hope that the royal family can keep evolving while still holding on to its traditions? Their modernization efforts go beyond just supporting causes. It's also about how they connect with everyone. Remember when Queen Elizabeth II made sure her coronation was televised in the 50s? That was such a groundbreaking move. Fast forward to now, and the younger royals are really embracing technology. They use social media and online campaigns to engage with people all over the world. Can you picture the Queen from years ago thinking about her family sharing Instagram pics and tweeting about their charity work? Well, it's happening now, and it's actually working out. The royal family is using today's tech to stay connected and relatable because people really want to feel close to public figures. But they also know it's important to keep up with their traditions. Those traditions give the monarchy its strength and stability. That's why, for example, they still take part in old ceremonies, play traditional music at events, and stick to a strict code of behavior during public appearances. It's a tricky balance between moving forward and holding on to history, right? King Charles is making it clear that he wants to look ahead but also keep the kind of global influence and dignity that his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, had. He's trying to mix being approachable with maintaining that royal presence. Isn't that what makes the monarchy fascinating? It's not just about grand ceremonies, it's about blending the past with the future. And speaking of the future, we can't forget about the wider world where the monarchy operates, the Commonwealth. The royal family isn't just a symbol for the UK, it connects to countries all around the globe. Upcoming royal tours, especially to places like Canada, will be really important for strengthening those bonds. Will the monarchy manage to keep its influence while adapting to change? We'll have to wait and see, but it's clear that bringing in new working royals will help keep the royal family relevant everywhere. And here's some royal gossip. Princess Anne has just put Camilla in her place, and it's causing a huge buzz behind the scenes. What did Anne say or do that shocked Camilla? Why now, of all times? Stay tuned to find out what's really happening between these two royal women. The tension is higher than ever, and you won't believe how it all went down. Queen Camilla is in the spotlight for not wanting things to change. You might wonder why someone like her is being so careful. Well, if you think about her journey from being a public enemy to a respected royal, it starts to make sense. She's worked really hard to fix her image, so it's no surprise she doesn't want to upset the balance she's created. Camilla has good reasons to tread lightly. Remember, she used to be called the most hated woman in Britain. That's not a title anyone would want. Over time, she's managed to win people over and carve out her place in the royal family. With that hard-earned acceptance, why would she risk it by jumping into big changes that could shake things up? A lot of her caution shows when we look at her support for King Charles during his health battles. With him undergoing cancer treatment, she's been right there, encouraging him to avoid anything stressful. This includes the talk about meeting up with Prince Harry. Let's be honest. Talking to a son who's openly critiqued the royal family? That could definitely create some tension. Camilla's instincts to protect her husband are kicked into high gear. Her main focus is on King Charles's health, and she's not about to let family issues weigh him down. Can you really blame her? But it's not just about King Charles's health. Camilla is also stepping up in his absence. Since his diagnosis, she's taken on 13 more public engagements. Still, she hasn't jumped into a bigger role in the monarchy. You might wonder why she's holding back. Well, she's very much aware that she's a relative newcomer to the royal scene. Ailsa Anderson, who used to work as a press secretary for Queen Elizabeth II, even pointed out this fact. Camilla understands that while her standing has improved, it's still a bit shaky. Stepping into the spotlight can be tricky, especially when some people are still getting used to things. Camilla's hesitation affects more than just her. She's protective and isn't too keen on change, which creates a unique situation for the family that younger royals like Prince William and Princess Catherine have to handle carefully. You've probably seen how they're working towards a more modern monarchy. They believe it's important to freshen up the royal family's image and keep up with today's world. But here's the challenge. Camilla isn't really on board with these changes, which can create a bit of tension. It's like they're in a tug of war. William and Catherine are eager to move forward while Camilla is holding on to tradition. And let's not forget about Prince Harry. There's a lot of talk about Camilla suggesting that Charles should avoid seeing Harry. This adds more complexity to an already tense family situation. Harry's distance from the family has sparked plenty of gossip, and any chance of mending things relies on sensitive and emotional choices. Camilla's role in this shows how personal relationships and strategy intertwine, impacting the future of the monarchy. Have you ever thought about how things might have turned out if Camilla hadn't advised King Charles to play it safe? That said, Camilla's reluctance to change isn't just a source of stress, it has its upsides too. While it can create a bit of friction, her focus on keeping things steady is a strength. In a family tradition that's been around for ages, there's definitely something to be said for being cautious. If the monarchy changed too fast, it could drift away from its roots, and Camilla seems to want to avoid that risk. Her careful approach helps balance out the more modern ideas being tossed around, making sure that any changes are solid and sensible. Sometimes taking it slow really does work out in the end. Speaking of family dynamics, during a private get-together, Princess Anne opened up about some feelings that the late Queen Elizabeth had kept close to her heart. Princess Anne shared that Queen Elizabeth always imagined a bigger role for Princess Catherine in the monarchy than many expected. It wasn't just about Catherine being a traditional queen consort standing by Prince William when he takes the throne. The late queen saw her as someone who could play a key part in the royal family's future, maybe even more than just a figurehead. This revelation makes you wonder what else the queen had in mind. When Queen Camilla heard about this, she was reportedly taken aback. Just think about how she felt after working hard to find her place in the royal family and finally getting public acceptance. It must have felt like a shock to realize that the late queen might not have seen her as a leading figure in the monarchy. You can imagine how heavy this news weighed on Camilla. Not only did it make her position seem uncertain, but it also brought into question all the sacrifices she had made over the years. And then there's Princess Anne, who highlighted these thoughts. By sharing the Queen's vision, Anne changed the game for everyone, including Camilla, reminding them that there's a bigger picture that even now is still shaping the monarchy's future. Some might say it's no surprise, given that Catherine has always seemed like a natural fit for her role. Her grace, sense of duty, and connection with the public hint that she was meant for something more. But for Camilla, who has worked so hard to establish herself, this was likely hard to accept. And Anne's reminder of what the late queen wanted? That's bound to have stirred up even more tension behind the palace walls. But things are about to get even more interesting. Queen Elizabeth always backed Charles and Camilla, right? We all recall what she said on her accession day. She really emphasized how important it was for everyone to come together and support Charles and his new queen. She wanted the whole family and the public to be behind Camilla. But have you ever thought about how that public support might not match what was happening behind closed doors? Anne shared some interesting insights that painted a different picture. It's almost like Queen Elizabeth was juggling two realities. One where Camilla was fully accepted and another where Princess Catherine was being set up for something even bigger. That wraps up our video. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, make sure to hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more fun stuff. And if you're up for even more exciting stories, just click on the next video that pops up on your screen.